What's up, everybody? We back with another word, another message today. And basically this message is going to tie into how the enemy is going after children. And he's doing it in these days in plain sight. Like, he's getting real boastful about it. You know, he's very egotistical and prideful, if you know anything about him. So when he feels like he's got people fooled, a lot of times he boasts about it, and that leads to his downfall, because him boasting about some of the stuff he's been doing and doing it in plain sight led to a few messages, and one of those messages has to do with Christmas, Santa Claus, you know, where that comes from, what the enemy did using Santa Claus, and we're gonna get into that, okay? So just to give you a little background on how this message came about, I like to give is, I was having a conversation, you know, with God. I was asking, you know, what else do you want me to do? We on a roll. I've been doing a lot of messages. What do you want me to talk about next? And one of the things that I caught wind of is this Disney Christmas mini-series, I think involving Tim Allen and stuff like that. And I caught wind of these kids holding up letters. The letters spelled out, "We love you, Satan." And I guess they tried to say that it was misspelling of the words because they were kids. But I'm like, but you see the kids, you see the kids holding these letters up before you. I'm not understanding, you know. You know what happened. You have to check everything before you start doing stuff, and they had to edit it or whatever. And apparently this Disney series, they wanted to add a Christian touch to it and represent Christianity more. And I'm like, you're doing the exact opposite. Because the saddest part to me about this whole thing, and I'm blocking these kids' faces off because it's already bad enough that these kids are being tied to this and their faces are being shown in this pretty, I'm not a fan of that, but I'm gonna block their faces off. It's bad enough that these kids didn't even know what happened, they're children, but it's the fact that this is a whole slap in the face to us as God's children and God himself. It's a whole slap in the face. And the enemy is laughing, getting a whole laugh at this, like, haha, yeah, I'm coming after your kids. What are you gonna do? So then, you know, God was starting to talk to me about Santa Claus, the idea of Santa Claus. And so I'm looking at these letters because he showed me this again. And I'm just like, wait a minute. Yep, you flip the words around on Santa and you get Satan. In plain sight. In plain sight. And so this leads to me then, you know, God started talking to me about Santa and letting me know things about Santa Claus. And Revelation 1:14 we're going to get into, the hairs of his head were white, like white wool, like snow. His eyes were like a flame of fire. So, you know, Jesus, white hair, like white wool, like snow. His eyes like a flame of fire. So I look and I go, Santa Claus, white hair. He really, the enemy out here really making a mockery out of this verse, making a mockery of God. Because when you think about it, many children go, you know, the whole concept of Santa, you know, sit in his lap, ask him what you want for Christmas, right? But in reality, God is the one, majority of the times, that allows people to have the finances to give to their children and for their family, you know? And we should really be teaching our kids to ask God, you know, what you want. Ask God anything. Ask your father anything, and he, you know, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, he will give it to you. You know, that's what you're supposed to be. It's not even about materialistic things, but as children, you know, teach your children that materialistic things aren't important, but they're still kids as well, you know? So let them be kids. And God loves kids. He loves all his children, no matter the age, but he loves kids. And just like God gives us gifts spiritually and healing and, finances, God gives us gifts. There's nothing wrong with giving children gifts as well, Um, but to teach them the value and concepts behind that materialistic things don't matter. And, it's like a reward system too. Don't do the right thing for a reward, but, do the right thing and good things will come from that, if that makes sense. So Santa is an idea that is used to put kids or put God on the back burner when it comes to kids. Once more, keep the children away from God, and keep the enemy wants to keep these ideas distracting these children and messing up all types of relationship with God. And it's sad. It's very sad. So another thing, God is an awesome, awesome, awesome Father when it comes to confirmation. And, I follow certain people that God has led me to. I told God, give me any form of confirmation. Whoever, you lead me to is who you lead me to. I will let you take over everything. I'm going to let you direct me. And he directed me to this guy called Mark the Messenger. I've been using him on my other channel for messages a lot too when I first started. And, God would give people to me for confirmation. So I'm going to read this. According to Langer's Encyclopedia of World History, the article Santa, okay? Santa was a common name for Nimrod throughout Asia Minor. This was also the same fire god who came down the chimneys of the ancient pagans, and the same fire god to whom infants were born or burned and eaten in human sacrifice among those who were once God's people. Crazy concept, he come down the chimney, and again, children are the targets. Today, Santa Claus comes from St. Nicholas, okay? New Jolly St. Nick in his, basically, yeah, St. Nick. Happy St. Nick. But see, down here it says, Old Nick has long been recognized as a term for the devil. So, they take something that was bad and switch it up. Give it a new name. Make it all nice. That's how it usually goes. So in Revelation 2:6 and 15, we read about a doctrine of the Nicolaitans. Nicolaitans, which Christ twice in his church tells his church he hates. So, simple as that. Background on where that comes from. And when I seen this, God was letting me know, I need you to speak on this. I need you to talk about this, okay? Clear as day, he going after the children. And another thing that God was always teaching me when it came to these holidays is to pray against the things that happen on these holidays. But don't let the enemy take away days from you. Christmas is one of those holidays, but it's still a day. And a lot of people, I'm not saying, oh, you shouldn't be with your family, you shouldn't buy your kids things. I'm not saying that, because it's the idea that's wrong. It's what they're telling and teaching you that's wrong. There's nothing wrong with being with your family. There's nothing wrong with actually, giving your kids things. God blesses people. And, sometimes we are able to bless other people during these seasons. Give people that don't have things, help people that really need it. And you can always do that, but, seasons for everything. And sometimes God will tell you, help this person, help that person. You can be a blessing to another person. So this is like a season of blessing, not a forget all that other stuff and ideas of the world. The enemy tries to take things from us and days from us and have us believe in certain ideology, but in reality, we can take that back. So that was another thing, God was really making me realize, like, we can take things back that the enemy is taking from us. Don't let him just continue to do what he's doing. it's time to start changing the name of the game and not being scared to do so. But that's not all, y'all, when it comes to Santa Claus. That's not all. That's not all. And you know what? Before I even get into the next thing, it's a lot of people that will talk about conspiracies and all this other stuff. And one thing me and God was talking about, the world will teach you what is crazy and what is not according to the world. They will teach you, oh, that's crazy. So we're going to read a couple of things, because let's see what God had to say about conspiracy, and let's see what God had to say about philosophy of this world. Colossians 2:8. See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ. So don't let them take you captive with all these ideas, because there's always something behind it the enemy has planted. And a lot of this stuff is going after kids. For real, when it comes to some of these holidays, okay? And also, when it comes to conspiracy, Isaiah 8:12, do not call conspiracy all that this people calls conspiracy, and do not fear what they fear, nor be in dread. So what people are calling conspiracy, that's what the world is going to tell you. Because when now all of a sudden, in today's society, in today's world, we see people doing certain things, and everything is spiritually led, okay? But we see stuff happening in plain sight. It's not, come on now, that they got to check some of these things before they put it out to the world. They know what they doing. And the enemy getting so cocky and so prideful, but that's his weakness, because he just threw this message right into the hands of God's people. What? Because he know he got some people fooled, but you're not going to play me for a fool. I'm going to tell people what needs to be told. And I told God, I said, you know what? We get one life on this earth, and what I'm going to do is do the right thing. You got people that have social media that's scared to speak because they're going to go to Facebook jail, or scared to lose their following. Not me. I'm not scared of none of this. We got to start speaking the truth, because if not, kids are really about to, not just kids, but everybody in general, but really with this message focusing on kids, children are going to end up captive. Because what happens when they get older, you have to tell them that Santa Claus ain't real. But see, when they come to God, my father always told me, always tell God anything you need or want, and he will give it to you, okay? And he will make you work for it. You got to do the right thing, but he's going to give you anything you want. And that's what's missing in kids today. Parents aren't teaching them, they're teaching about Santa Claus. But Santa Claus is just a mockery of God. And that's just what it is. Let's talk about this Balenciaga situation that's going on with these teddy bears, okay? And I know a lot of people probably already heard about this, but, apologies being made and thrown out. Come on now, let's get real. Let's get real for a second. You knew what you were doing before you sent this stuff out. Nothing but going after kids again. It's clearly sending a message clear as day, we're going after your children. The enemy is so boastful, it's ridiculous. But it don't stop there. Watch this. Y'all ever heard of the show Little Demon? Well, I'm going to let you know what this description of the show is. Satan's teen daughter, 13 years after being impregnated by Satan, a reluctant mother, Laura, and her antichrist daughter, Chrissy, attempt to live an ordinary life in Delaware, but are constantly thwarted by monstrous forces, including Satan, who yearns for custody of his daughter's soul. Come on now. This sound, and I laugh because it sounds ridiculous. Plain sight. This last part, who yearns for custody of his daughter's soul. Come on now. You can't even leave your kid alone for 1 second watching stuff, because you don't, oh my goodness. It's just so insane that the enemy is doing things in plain sight. See, when I was a kid, this was not done so much in plain sight. It just wasn't. It was not. Now the enemy, he just lost his mind. Like, he know that but this is just going to show you there's not a lot of time left before Jesus come back. See, there's going to be a rapture, then there's going to be a great tribulation. And if you get left after the rapture come through, you're going to be dealing with the great tribulation. And that's not long, y'all, because the enemy knows that there's not a lot of time left. So he's trying to get people that's going on the right track and push them backwards and get their kids. He trying to cause a lot of chaos. And even when it comes to Easter, the Easter bunny, come on now. Got kids with this Easter bunny. Then you got Halloween when people dress up and stuff. And on that day, you got a lot of bad demonic stuff going on. You know, witchcraft is an actual thing. You got people being sacrificed to death. And shoot, just this year, what's her name? Shanquilla Robinson got allegedly set up by her friends. October, 28th, 29th. They got the dates all going crazy over there. But that was right before Halloween. You can't sit there and tell me the enemy's like, let's get her. Like, I feel terrible for her. But it just goes to show you that, you know, when God steps into your life, you have to be careful when he tells you to get rid of people. And I don't know what's going on with her life. I don't. But it shouldn't have happened to her. And it just goes to show you that not everybody in your life is good for you. So when God tells you to remove people from your life, it's so important to do so. But back to when it comes to the kids with Halloween, you know, on these days, Halloween, and then that season, you don't know what people doing to candy to get to these kids. They doing all types of stuff. They are targeted in every which way, especially now. I feel bad for Generation Z. But you know what the analogy God gave me? He talked about this maze to me, okay? And he said that, you know, us right now, let's say you walked into the maze and you saw the sign that said exit, right? So you walk through it and you would come back to the same spot and you would know that the exit was there. Well, when it comes to God's word, they already sit up there tampering with the Tencommandments. We, you know, people that know better, got the knowledge, gonna know that that's not the real words of God, real word in general. So with this maze, they done changed the sign to go deeper into the maze, saying that it's the exit instead of the original sign. And, you know, people that know better say, oh, I could have sworn I just know that sign's pointed the other way. But then you got people that never knew the original sign of the original sign, or like God's original words, and they follow the false sign and go deeper into confusion, deeper into that maze. There's no escape. They go into captivity and they trap. And so that's what he's trying to do with the kids. He's trying to keep God on the back burner and adapt these ideas with these children. And it's just sad. And then you get people who you tell the truth to, and they start trying to call you all types of stuff and get all upset about it. And say, you know, some people don't realize what they're doing. But you actually are teaching your kid something that shouldn't be taught to them. Because, you know, it always baffles me when you start talking about God and stuff and people get really upset by this. But, you know, and call them imaginary and stuff like that. But then they go and do Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny and stuff like that. And it's just like, okay, well, why do that? Why do that? You know they're imaginary, but you can't sit up there and say that God is imaginary, because he's worked his way through so many people's lives. He doing so many things today. I mean, I'm living the experience of what he's done for me. I was taught as a kid to go to God if I needed anything. And that that teaching is being taken out. So Gen Z is just about to, the enemy trying to mess up Gen Z. And then you know what? Children are gifts from God, okay? And the enemy hates us as humans already. He hates us. So what do you think he gonna try to do to kids? I mean, my birth, he didn't even want me born. That's the crazy part. He tried to kill me at my birth before I could even get into the world. And God said, no, you coming through here. I don't care how difficult it's gonna be. You about to do this. He put me here to do this exact thing. The enemy didn't try to kill me, tried to corrupt me, all these bad, wrong things to me. Yet here I am today, and now I'm doing this, the very thing he didn't want me to. So it just, we got to look out for the younger kids, because all these trends, these dumb trends and challenges and stuff, killing these kids, and oh my goodness. I mean, they doing all types of crazy stuff. Crazy songs. And kids don't realize what they getting into. I mean, goodness gracious. But that whole Santa Claus ordeal, it blew my mind, y'all, because you be so busy invested into a message that you don't even realize, yes, Santa Claus, the idea behind him was to put God on the back burner, but Satan and Santa Claus, when you take the spelling and flipping it around, I was like, no, he didn't do that in plain sight. No, he didn't do that in plain sight and diss God like that and mock Jesus' return like that, white hair and really? He getting too cocky, but he know that time is running out for a lot of things, so he's getting worse with it. We got to be careful. We got to be very careful, and this is important too, to start listening to when it comes to your kids. I know I did a video about the whole psychological aspect, how spiritually and in the physical world they both need to be connected for people to be cured for whatever they're going through. But one thing I did mention, I'm gonna put that up soon. Kids, you gotta listen to your children when they telling you certain things that may seem off. A lot of people don't listen to their kids. And so a lot of stuff ends up, they get into stuff and kids feel like they can't express themselves. Oh, thank you so much for reminding me. He just reminded me, y'all. He always come through. One thing about it, they teaching kids about minor attracted persons. Yeah, that's what is, come on now. It's called a pedophile. Stop trying to normalize that and make it sound like, well, yeah, they're people too, and they just are attracted to a minor person. That's not normal. That's not normal. They trying to normalize things. The enemy is trying to normalize things and using people to try to normalize stuff that should not be. And God don't like it. He getting tired of it. He not about to play games with people, especially when you start messing with kids. Kids can't even be born no more. They can't even be born. They can't even have a second of breath into the fresh air, into the world, without being tampered with. Their basic biology being tampered with. It's crazy. They actually be messing around on kids when they first come out. Oh my gosh. And parents pushing things on their children at such young ages it's not okay. Because as a child, if I went to school and was being pushed on with these ideas, my mom would flip out. She would have walked up and drove up, ran up if she had to, anything, flew to the school. She would have been up there so quick. It's gonna be a point where you ain't even gonna be able to put your kids in certain schools no more because of what is going to be taught. But you got to think the kids are supposed to be the future. So if you teach the kids, get rid of God in kids' lives and they come up with these ideas, that's going to be the future. They ain't going to know no better, and everybody going to be lost. So it's time to break these curses, these trends, and start speaking up and having the knowledge to do so. So that's really it, y'all. I thank y'all for sticking through and watching this video. One thing about it, when I think about these messages, I always think about my little cousins and stuff like that, and just kids. It's no, not in my sight. You ain't finna play me for a fool. You ain't finna do that in my face. No, absolutely not, enemy. And y'all, the funniest thing, before I could even get this message up, the enemy tried his hardest to keep me from doing this message. I mean, I started off the recording about 4 or 5 times, and he did everything in his power to stop me. And I'm like, man, you done messed up. You messing up big time. Yeah, you should be mad, because you too prideful and egotistical, and you throwing messages right in the hands of God's people. Yes, you fighting a battle you not gonna win, and you going through a war that you know you're gonna be the loser of, but you too prideful and egotistical. So score another for Team God, because that's what we do here. All right, I'll catch y'all in the next message. Again, another score for Team God. Peace out and blessings. Have a good one and be safe.